Hey, songwriter friends. Today I want to take a look at Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay by Otis. So I was hearing the song in my head the other day, and back when I was just playing guitar, trying to sing songs around the campfire, I learned this, and I thought this is just the simplest song in the world. It's probably 1-4-5, but I didn't know anything about music theory, so I just learned the chords, played the chords, and never thought more about it. But I was hearing it in my head last night, and I was like, sitting in the morning sun. It's like, ooh, that's a crunchy chord. And I recognize that now as a major 3. I'll be sitting when the evening... So I sat down at the keyboard. I was like, let's figure out the chords to this. And sure enough, in the morning sun, major 3, which is a change. That's a chord that doesn't normally belong. Normally you use a minor 3 chord in a major key, okay? So major 3, I'll be sitting when the evening... And then the next chord is a major 2. It's kind of weird because now, in a major key, normally you have 3 major chords, 3 minor chords, and 1 diminished chord. If it's G major, your major chords are going to be 1, 4, and 5. G major, C major, and D major in this case. Your minor chords will be 2, 3, and 6. In this case, A minor, B minor, and E minor. Okay. But in this song, so far, we're using the major 2 and the major 3. And then wouldn't you know it, when we get to the chorus, sitting on the dock of the bay, we're going to use a major 6 chord, E major. So now we're using E major, A major, B major, C major, D major, and E major. That's a lot of major chords. Conspicuous absence of minor chords. Then when we get to the bridge, let's see. I can do what 10 people tell me to do. So right there, that's an F major. So I guess I'm a man the same, yeah, sitting here. Okay, so the F, the 7th chord we usually don't use is your diminished chord. So 1 half step below the tonic, you get this diminished chord, F sharp diminished. Well, we've lowered this note to the flat 7 to make it a major chord. So now we have 6 major chords. No minor chords, no diminished chords, nothing else. That's really unusual to find in a song. And it probably accounts for why the song's so timeless and stays in our heads and why it's such a distinctive sound. It's an interesting experiment to replace those major chords with the minor chords you would typically encounter. So let's hear what that would sound like. Sitting in the morning sun, minor 3. I'll be sitting when the evening come, minor 2. Watching the ships roll in, and I watch them roll away again. Yeah, okay. Now we'll go to the chorus. Sitting on the dock of the bay, minor 6. Watching the tides roll away. Oh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, minor 2, wasting time, minor 6. It's a pretty different song, right? All right. Well, let's see what's going on from a music theory point of view with each of these chords. Because one thing that's not happening is that these are mostly, I think, overall, not being used as secondary dominants, okay? I think you can say the most common place you'll encounter minor chords turned major is when they're using them as a secondary dominant to go down a 5th to the chord below them. So for example, if you're going to use a minor 2, you might be going up by 5ths to the 2. Now 2, 5, 1 is a very standard harmonic progression, in this case A minor, D major, G major, but you usually encounter it as minor 2 to the 5 to the 1. But sometimes, if you want a more dramatic motion from 2 to the 5, you can make this major. You take that 3rd note and raise it a half step, so it's a half step below the D, which you're going down to, a 5th down, and it has more dramatic motion. Okay. Or in a lot of Christmas songs, they'll use this harmonic progression, 6, 2, 5, 1, E minor, A minor, D major, G major. But sometimes making that E minor major gives it more drama, because otherwise it's minor to minor, which is kind of dreary. But like in this classic song, okay, that little brightening on that first O is because we made an E major O down to the A minor O, and we like it sounding brighter. We could do it E minor O, it just doesn't have quite as much drama. And when you make that E minor major, it almost sounds naughty. It almost sounds like you're getting away with something. Okay, but again, you're using that as a way of going down a 5th to the chord below. That's like a functional harmony thing. Nowhere in the song are those major chords that are replacing the minor chords being used to go down a 5th. They're not being used as dominants, in other words. And that's unusual. Okay. One thing worth noticing is that when you're playing this, you're sort of sitting in the morning sun. Now, that doesn't really explain why it's major. I'll be sitting when the evening comes. But it does make you wonder if this song was sort of built chromatically rather than from functional harmony. Like, did he do this just because it sounded cool, or did he do this on purpose to break the rules and give us something fresh for our ears? I will never know. Anyway, one of the things that's cool about that major 3 chord, so let's look at that one. Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting. See how it creates this great sense of tension that releases to the 4 chord? All right, well, already when you have a 3 chord, major or minor, you've got these 2 notes that slide up both by half step to the 4 chord, 3 to 4. Now, half steps are what make music move, so having that tension automatically feels good to go from 3 to 4. The thing is, when you do B minor to C major, these are half steps, but this is a whole step. So there's a missed opportunity there for even more tension. And if you make this major, now all 3 motions are by half step. And we really like that sound. That chord motion shows up in a lot of songs. Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Goodbye Yellow Brick, major 3, major 4, back to the 1. Okay, so we have that sound in our ears, we like that sound, and that's kind of what's going on there. Now, one thing worth noticing, taking away with you for your tool belt, is that anytime you encounter 2 major triads a half step apart, it's usually going to be right there, from the major 3 to the major 4. Now, it's worth noting that when you play a major 3 in a major key, you're also playing the dominant of the relative minor. Okay, what does that mean? G major is your major key. If you use the same notes and all the same chords, but just start down here, you've got E minor. Okay, just 1 black note. So those 2 keys are the same. They're just where you start is the only thing that determines the difference between G major and E minor, with one exception. When you're doing a 5-1 motion in E minor, that minor chord is normally minor, just as it is in G major. It's normally a minor chord. But we like to make it major so that we can have that middle note be a half step from the E. Okay, because this sounds cool, but this sounds more dramatic. So we like that major 5 chord in E minor. Now, if we're in G major, that's the major 3 chord. Okay, so that's one of the things that's happening. When you play this major 3, it kind of sounds like you're going to go to the minor, which is why it sounds funny. It's both a note that doesn't belong, but it's also that's crunchy in a way that sounds like you're about to go dark. So it almost sounds like a minor chord, even though it's major. That's one of the cool things about the major 3. Okay, the other thing to notice is that if you're in E minor, the chord progression would be C major to major 5 to 1. And you hear that a lot. That's a very classic kind of dramatic sound. So, and it also signals to your ear. Once again, you're hearing 2 major triads a half step apart. And often when you hear that, you're going to hear D, D, D. So it kind of signals to you where you are in the key. So you hear this, and you're like, this sounds minor. And that's the reason why. Okay, so there's that one. As far as the major 2 chords, I don't really know. Honestly, if somebody smarter than me has a really clear explanation for that one, please share it. Again, sometimes you're going to do a 2-5-1, making that minor so that you can use it as the dominant of D. But that's not what's happening here. We use this and we just go right back to 1. So it sounds cool. Okay, and then the last thing we have to figure out is living on the dock of the bay, watching the tides. Now, what's interesting about this is even back umpteen years ago when I was learning how to sing the guitar, I read G major to E major. I'm like, that just doesn't sound right. And there's a reason for that, because you're going to sing, sitting on the dock of the bay. You're singing this note, but you're playing that note. So you're getting this half-step dissonance, sitting on the dock of the bay. Like, it sounds wrong. But part of the way they make it work is by putting that G sharp down here. So it becomes like less dissonant, I guess, but it's still an aggressive sound. Sitting on the dock of the bay. Now, granted, he only sits there for a second before going to the E, but it's still sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tides roll away. Anyway, it's a cool sound. I don't know, he likes it. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Note again that this E major is not being used as a secondary dominant to A minor. This is not that Christmas song. It just goes back to G. So, and then the last thing is this bridge. Now, this is the one place we encounter a more typical chord progression. 1, 5, 4. Now, that's not the most typical organization of 1, 4, and 5 chords, but it's certainly not that unusual. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Now, notice what he's doing. He's using this as a way, 1, 5, to get you to sit on the 4 chord. We've encountered the 4 chord before, but we haven't sat there like that, have we? Sitting on the morning sun, I'll be sitting. Yeah, I guess we did for a minute. Whatever. Anyway, the point is that we're landing on the 4 chord, and he does that a few times. And part of the reason he does that is he wants this motion for you to feel like there's somewhere else to go from here. And sure enough, what we're going to do on the last one is go down another 5th to the F. Now remember I was saying before, a lot of harmonic motion boils down to going down by 5ths. 6, 2, 5, 1 is a classic thing. And then you get home. The thing is, you can keep going another fifth and get to your 4 chord. Okay, so 6, 2, 5, 1, 4. And a lot of times, especially in Christmas music, this gets used to go into the bridge. So the sort of dramatic climax of the songs, we'll go to 1, we'll make that a dominant 7, and then we'll go to the 4. Okay, and that's kind of where you sit on the 4 chord to add some emotion and drama to the song. Well, we often don't go past that because it gets us outside the key. If you go down a fifth from C, you get to F. But in our key, G major, we don't have F natural. We have E, F sharp to G. So going down a fifth to F gets you to a note that doesn't belong in the scale. Well, in this case, we've been going to C so often that we're going to still use the sense of center to go down the fifth to the F major so your ear accepts it. Anyway, and that trick gets used pretty often. Now, what's the role of a flat 7? Well, flat 7 is a really cool predominant. Flat 7 to 5 to 1 gives you a really nifty chromatic motion, which is this. F to D major, which is our 5, our dominant, right? There, back to the G. And this, again, in Elton John, Yellow Brick Road. Should've staying on the farm, I should have listened to my old man. So that song is in F major, which means E flat is our flat 7. And that gives you this nice chromatic walk-up. Should've stayed on the farm, I should have listened to my old man. So that's the same thing that's happening here, right? We've set up the... Sittin. So it's a really dramatic way of getting back to the tonic after that bridge. Okay, so that's definitely an experienced musician knowing how to use that tool, but you can use it too. So anyway, really an interesting song. There's way more going on under the hood than I thought there would be. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you can use these tools in your own songwriting, and have a good one.